It's another beautiful Tuesday evening. Thank you so much for joining us on Nationwide today on the network service of the NTA. I'm Elizabeth Omori. Now let's begin with the presidency. President Muhammadu Buhari has implored Nigerians to, as a matter of honor, develop a mindset that not only shuns corrupt practices, but at all times focuses on the wider public good. He said this in audit particularly should not be seen as He said audit in particular should not be seen as a threat by those doing the right thing in government, but a means of improving their performance. President Muhammadu Buhari stated this at the opening of the Conference of Auditors General in Abuja. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
Organized by the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation, the conference being attended by Auditors General from across the three tiers of government has as its theme, Building Government Audit Institutions Nigeria Needs for the 21st Century. President Muhammadu Buhari said with transparency, accountability, and good governance as the hallmarks of his administration, auditors are indispensable if the desired objectives are to be achieved. He therefore told them that as champions in the fight against corruption, armed with full range of audit tools, there is no aspect of government performance or expenditure that they cannot examine.
What may be missing is the will to properly deploy the power that you have. In which case, I will remind you that underperformance by auditors or ineffective audits contribute largely to governance problems. Auditors, therefore, need to decide not to be part of the problem. I expect to see better and greater collaboration between your institutions and other anti-corruption agencies. I expect your audit reports to be current and of high quality.
The president is, however, worried over the issue of quality in audit over the years, especially at the state level. He said it is strange that despite the significant cases of misappropriation that have been uncovered, the huge balances recovered, and the sentences being served by convicted public officials, including former governors, there has never been anything but clean audit opinions in respect of annual financial statements.
One can either assume the audits are not thoroughly done, the auditors have been compromised, or the auditors are constrained in some way or other. What will it take to do a thorough job for the sake of your local government, your state, Nigeria, and for sake of future generations? I therefore urge you all to be diligent in your work. By doing so, you are not only improving the lives of citizens, you are also preparing the ground for a better life for the coming generations.
President Buhari said, with or without any petition or allegation, auditors are uniquely placed and lawfully empowered to discover corrupt practices early and block the loopholes before they are exploited. The Auditor General for the Federation, Mr. Anthony Ayine, had earlier identified the absence of an audit act as a major impediment to effective and efficient auditing processes in Nigeria and called for the enactment of audit laws towards strengthening the audit institutions for better performance.
We understand fully the challenge that corruption presents to this country, how much damage has been done, and the urgency with which Nigeria needs to change. As Auditors General, we are fully committed to doing our part as audit institutions. No matter how difficult it gets, we will not relent in contributing our effort to make Nigeria a better place.
During the event, goodwill messages were delivered by representatives of the World Bank and Nigeria's EFCC, while the Conference of Auditors General in Nigeria presented an award of honor to President Muhammadu Buhari as champion of transparency and anti-corruption. In Abuja, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And the Senate has confirmed presidential request seeking confirmation of Kingsley Obiora as Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. This includes the appointment of Musa Shuaibu Nuhu as Director General of the Nigerian Aviation Authority, Professor Adeolu Akonde as Board Chairman of Nigerian Communications Commission, and Uche Onwode as member.
In accordance with the provisions of Section 8, subsection 1 and 2 of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN Establishment, etc., Act 2007, I have the pleasure to present Dr. Kingsley Isitwa Obiora for confirmation as Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Find attached a copy of his curriculum vitae.
In other news, the National Assembly Tuesday resumed after the Christmas and New Year break. Plenary was, however, suspended to Wednesday in honor of a deceased member. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
A solemn moment it was in both chambers of the National Assembly as they mourned their colleague, the late Adamu Fagengao, a House member from Jigawa State who died during the festive period. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, says his death was a reminder that life is transient and called for prayers for the repose of his soul. Similarly, at the House of Representatives, House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila described the late Fagengao as a gentleman committed to the good of the nation.
Friend, brother and colleague, Honorable Adamu Muhammadu Fagengao, who died on 31st December 2019 when we were all away for our Christmas break. He has since been buried according to Muslim rites.
A minute's silence was observed in his honor, after which sitting was adjourned to Wednesday. In the meantime, House spokesman Benjamin Kalu briefed the press on priorities of the House in 2020, which include constitutional amendments, passage of Electoral Act and the Petroleum Industry Bill, as well as issues on security. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
To other matters now, the federal government has described as unfortunate Transparency International's rating of Nigeria's anti-corruption crusade in a negative standing. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed stated this during his media engagement in UK. Anthony Forson reports.
Transparency International's Pecking Order of 2019 indicate that Nigeria fell by 26 points according to the Global Anti-Corruption Watchdog latest index. This Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says it appears Transparency International is deliberately weaponizing Nigeria's anti-corruption crusade.
If they are not very happy for whatever reason with a particular country, their rating will not favor that country. Otherwise, how can anybody say that this administration is not doing anything to improve the anti-corruption stance? And in any event, we are not fighting corruption because we want to impress any organization. We are fighting corruption because we believe that without fighting corruption, the much sought development in the country will not happen.
The minister maintained that the over 15 million Nigerians who voted President Muhammadu Buhari for a second term in office made no mistake given the confidence they built in the first 4-year term.
The truth of the matter is that in 2015, this president campaigned on fighting corruption. He won elections. He was re-elected overwhelmingly again in 2019 because Nigerians actually believe, because they saw how much he has fought corruption. Then an agency now says that, as a matter of fact, Nigeria is doing worse in the issue of fighting corruption. That's not correct.
More so, the minister added that policies and legislations have been galvanized to entrench the war on corruption in the country.
We have results to show for fighting corruption. We have put in place policies and legislation that has actually tamed the monster called corruption. For instance, apart from the TSA, which has saved us trillions of naira, we put in place the transparency portal, which enables every Nigerian that so wishes to go and find out how much is being spent by government every day. We will continue to fight corruption. We are winning the war. For the first time in the history of this country, high-profile, people have been convicted. And for those who say, this corruption fight is selective, how do you say that when even serving senators, past governors belong to the ruling party are now serving jail terms. Their properties have been confiscated. So we must continue to fight corruption. All we need is encouragement, but we are not distracted by any rating because we know that we are winning the war.
Lai Mohammed, however, said Nigerians must remain resolute in their support for the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration and not to be dissuaded by the antics of naysayers. In London, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
And out to the Judiciary, the Federal High Court Abuja, in exercise of its discretion, has varied the bail conditions earlier granted to the chairman of the defunct Pension Reform Task Team, Abdurrashid Maina. The court had earlier turned down his request to have the terms varied. Justice Okon Abang, however, granted the request following his inability to meet the conditions. Olabode Arewa reports.
Following the earlier bail granted to Abdurrashid Maina in his trial for alleged pension fraud, the defendant approached the court seeking variation of bail terms, which the defendant felt were stringent. Justice Okon Abang said the court took a risk to have granted bail to Maina in the first place because the defendant had not countered submissions of the prosecution that it was a flight risk and could jump bail, but only that at the USA and Dubai. The court varied the bail condition for 1 billion naira to 500 million naira, which was surety in like sum. Be a serving senator with developed landed property in Maitama, Usetu, Asokoro, the central district of Abuja, or Katampe. The surety shall come with Maina on all hearing dates and sign a register before proceeding for its legislative duties. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa, NTA News.
This is Nationwide on NTA. Time now to link up with Hingino John Adams in Lagos. Hello, Hingino.
Hello, Elizabeth, and thank you for joining us in Lagos. Since the outbreak of coronavirus in China, there is a growing apprehension in Nigeria that the Ebola episode of 2014 may repeat itself. The federal government, already aware of the dynamic of such deadly disease, has not only put in place detection mechanism at the nation's airports, but heightened medical and health surveillance to timely arrest any ugly incident. Michael Olale interacted with some passengers at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos on these measures.
I've not heard over the news there is one incident in Nigeria, so it makes me feel better.
Although Nigeria is among the countries that have not reported any case of coronavirus, but the Ebola experience of 2014 is still fresh in her memory. Like the case of once beaten, twice shy, the country is sticking with its winning formula. These thermal scanners and infrared at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport were installed in 2014 during the dark days of the Ebola virus. Now they are still in use and upgraded to automatically monitor the temperature of incoming passengers, as high fever is one of the symptoms of coronavirus.
I think the scanners are enough, but also emphasis should be based on countries where we know there are cases of those infections. So passengers from those countries should have extra scrutiny.
When you're looking at the exposure and where people are coming and how busy this place is, I think more practical measures should be taken and put in place as well to check in those more especially coming in.
Nigeria is not envisaging an outbreak, but like an airport of this nature, which recorded more than 96,000 aircraft and 7.3 million passengers in 2019, it is better to be prepared than regret. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NT News.
Talking security now. Undercover officers of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps have arrested 8 suspects operating cyber cafes and tutorial centers for selling the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board forms above the stipulated official price of 4,700 naira. Dotun Oguyemi reports that the suspects were arrested across different parts of Lagos State.
Since registration for the 2020 Joint Admission and Matriculation Board began on the 13th of January, The race by prospective undergraduates has been to meet up with the February 17 deadline, and for this reason, some unsuspecting candidates across the nation have been defrauded by this desperation just by walking into cyber cafes. The tough job by security agencies has been how to crack down on perpetrators, and the NSCDC has relied on intelligence and investigation rather than luck to achieve success in this regard. Ajetumobi Olufemi is having some difficulty putting his emotions in check as he expresses frustration at being arrested after running his tutorial center in Agboju for more than 4 years.
We are charging our students system, and the system contain both the lesson fee and logistics, but they are saying to us that we are actually wrong.
The Lagos command of the NSCDC has vowed to continue its clampdown.
Defaulters stand a chance to lose their license. Defaulters should prepare to go to jail or face the consequences.
Victor Faith is the only lady among the 8 arrested. She also says their actions are not illegal, as candidates do not complain when asked to pay. JAMB, however, says no student is permitted to pay above 4,700. In Lagos, Dotun Ogunyemi, NTA News.
That's our contribution from Lagos. Nationwide continues after this break. Please stay with us.
Thanks for staying with us. Now let's shift our attention to health. The Minister of Health has appealed to airport users to subject themselves to medical procedures at the nation's airports as part of measures to prevent the importation of transmissible diseases through the nation's entry points. This is coming on the heels of refusals and hostility demonstrated by some citizens during a yellow fever vaccination status screening exercise at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Emmanuel Ayimiro reports.
A typical scenario at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, whenever officials insist on passengers comply with standard health requirement for traveling. This has raised a lot of concern, particularly now that the world is grappling with coronavirus, forcing the adoption of preventive measures to curtail the spread of diseases. While many foreign passengers willfully subject themselves to the quarantine procedures, some Nigerians resist and questioned why they should be asked about yellow fever vaccination status.
Everybody should know that it's for their own good and it's also for the good of the community. There's no harm in it. There's no bad intention. So therefore, the hostility towards healthcare workers is uncalled for.
Some passengers, however, do understand the importance of the requirement and advised that more enlightenment needs to be done.
Desensitization should not be just limited at the airport.
And your country is more cautious about this, and they should be cautious about this because, to save the country from the other diseases come from.
The consensus is that Nigerians needed to support and cooperate with authorities, just like it was demonstrated during the fight against Ebola a few years ago. Emmanuel Ayimiro, NTA News.
Thank you, Emmanuel. And out to security, troops of Operation Lafia Dole have foiled Boko Haram attack on Auno in Borno State, killing several terrorists and recovered gun trucks. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa, who accompanied the Chief of Army Staff on a operational visit to the northeast, has details of the encounter.
It is a bright, busy day at the 29th Task Force Brigade in Jakana, a village 50 kilometers away from Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Troops in the general area situated along the Maiduguri-Damaturu road are keeping an eagle eye on the route that has recently witnessed increased terrorist activities. Just as the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tuku Bratai, on operational visit arrived the camp, the sun preparing to set, troops commenced preparation to accord aggressive response to a distress intelligence report. Personnel and platforms were deployed towards Minok Axis and Lambawa Forest to counter invading Boko Haram terrorists. After the encounter, the criminals were said to have been subdued, many eliminated, 1 captured, 4 gun trucks and several arms recovered. In the thick darkness of the night, our convoy charged through back to Maiduguri, the control and command center of Operation Lafia Dole. It is daybreak, and Lieutenant General Tuku Brata is here to commend the troops for their victory.
To went ahead to intercept these criminals along the Lambawa axis, and also that those that came around the road or across the road, and they were decisively dealt with. This must continue. We must continue to ensure that we do not give them any respite. We should not give them any chance. Is that clear? Yes, sir.
A soldier paid the supreme sacrifice while 2 that were injured are receiving treatment at the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital and the 7th Division Medical Facility, Mimalari Cantonment, Maiduguri. From Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Thank you, Ismail, for your effort. Still on security, the Commissioner of Police, Imo State Command, Bolaji Fafora, has ordered full investigation into the murder of the senatorial candidates of the Action Alliance for Imo North Senatorial District in the 2019 general election, Undubisi Emenike. The police public relations officer, Orlando Ikeku, made this known in Owerri while commenting on the alleged killing of Emenike by security aide. Beatrice Anyim has details.
The senatorial candidate of the Action Alliance for Imo North in the 2019 general election, Ndubisi Emenike, hails from Ehimembano local government area of Imo State. He lost to the late Senator Benjamin Wajimogu, who died in December 2019. The late Emenike was said to have been hit by a bullet from a civil defense officer while he was celebrating the victory of the candidate for Okigwe North Federal Constituency, who won the House of Representatives election in the just concluded rerun in Imo State. Reacting on the incident, the police public relations officer, Imo State Command, Orlando Ikoku, says the disease was taken to the Federal Medical Center where he gave up the ghost after intense effort to save his life.
The divisional police officer took custody the officer who is said to have fired, officer of the NSCDC. The Commissioner of Police, CP Bolaji Fafora, has ordered full-scale investigation into the matter.
The PPRO further said the law would take its course when investigations are concluded. In Owerri, Beatrice Anyam, NTA News.
And we're not done with security yet. Katsina State in northwestern Nigeria has witnessed a spate of banditry and other acts of terror in recent times. However, this security breach has been addressed by a strategic partnership between the state and the Nigerian Air Force. Correspondent Najat Tijani reports.
Sharing borders with 4 states and Niger Republic in the north, Katsina's position makes it a target for bandits brandishing guns on motorcycles. While the government is taking strident steps such as placing restrictions on motorcycles from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m., Governor Aminu Bello Masari is going the extra mile.
The bandits come on motorcycles in the night, so anybody seen on motorcycle except those who are on security services is considered to be a bandit. We are pleased and very appreciative of the performance of your men.
We are beginning to see that they are now operating with high caliber weapons. They are as good as Boko Haram terrorists. And the Air Force will look at the appropriate weapons that will match that, or else will not hesitate to level that forest to make sure that our people can go about their businesses without any fears.
The resurgence of bandits in the state has been attributed to criminal gangs fleeing from neighboring states to Rugu Forest in Katsina. The Nigerian Air Force, however, says it will employ air power to destroy their hideouts. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
And Zulay is standing by in our studio in Kaduna for more reports on Nationwide. Hello, Zulay.
Good evening, Elizabeth, and welcome to Kaduna.
Nigerian Customs Service says the support of Nigerians remains crucial to the success of the fight against importation of prohibited goods into the country. Federal Control of Customs Zone B Operations Command Serikin Kebi Muhammad Mustafa gave the hint while displaying seizures by the command. Muhammad Umar-Ajingi reports.
It's about 6 months since Nigeria closed its borders, but goods like these ones still get their ways into the country. The officers and men of the Nigerian custom are also not relenting. These are trucks loaded with various contraband intercepted in Katsina State. What this car is conveying will surprise you.
Was intercepted coming from the border into Nigeria. But the most alarming thing about the whole thing is that you can even look at the cylinders. They are kind of very old. Anything can happen with this. And as I'm speaking to you, these cylinders are laden with gas.
In Sokoto State, it was another breakthrough by the custom towards curtailing smuggling of textile materials into the country.
The seizure was made along Kangiwa Argungu Road in Kebbi State, and it was based on information. We have the truck was laden with about 640 bales.
These bags of expired rice were also on their way into Nigeria. The Nigerian Customs Service says rice importation has reduced significantly, but calls on border communities to assist with relevant information in saving the lives of Nigerians. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Umar-Ajingi, NTA News.
More than 1,000 youths drawn from Kano, Kaduna, and Kogi states have benefited from the federal government's training on modern agricultural value chain. The scheme on the Agro-Processing and Livelihood Initiative is part of the present administration's commitment to boosting agricultural production. Muhammad Rabiu Ali reports.
Participants from 3 states have undergone training in the week-long program in modern poultry, farming, aquaculture, rice and wheat production. The 1,400 youth are expected to replicate the new modern techniques in agricultural production to generate employment and income in their various communities. The initiative is a shift from subsistence to mechanized agriculture. The commitment of the Buhari administration to lift youth out of poverty and unemployment remain on course in view of the rigorous training in agricultural sector.
Let me also assure you that the project is up and going to ensure that after the training you are properly guided to ensure that the resources to be given to you are properly maximized and loss also will be ensured to be minimized as well.
The beneficiaries will receive startup grants to enable them commence agricultural production in earnest. Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
And that's our beat from here. It's back to Elizabeth in Abuja for more Nationwide. Good evening.
Thank you so much, Sule. Now to humanitarian services. First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Muhammad Buhari, has enjoined Nigerian youths to keep positively into various programs of governments at all levels in order to contribute meaningfully to the development of the country. The First Lady stated this in a message during the distribution of food items to members of Kano State Road Traffic Agency in the state. State House correspondent Aliu Kabir reports.
Over 2,000 staffs of the Kano State Road Traffic Agency have benefited from the gesture of Aisha Muhammad Buhari, courtesy of a Future Assured program aimed at supporting hard-working Nigerian youth in gingering them to do more towards their service to humanity. This is part of our effort towards supporting the lives of women, youth and children in Nigeria. The items donated include rice, spaghetti and vegetable oil. With the flag off of the exercise recently in Kano, this distribution therefore to serve as a model in ensuring that the goods reach to the targeted beneficiaries.
We are here actually to make sure we continue with the good work Our Excellency has been doing. Food distribution, women and children empowerment.
While appreciating the First Lady for this kind gesture, the managing director of the organization described the effort as a morale booster.
The only thing I promise to do for the First Lady is she'll be in our prayers every day. So we decide to call everybody for her to see for herself that the people that she sent these food items to have been given these items.
The exercise is expected to cover the whole country. In Kano, Aliu Kabir, NTA News.
Still on humanitarian support, Nigerians have been urged to avoid actions that are prone to fire in other disasters for a safe environment. Akwa Ibom State Deputy Governor Moses Ekpo gave the advice during the presentation of relief materials to victims of various disasters in Uyo, the state capital. Charity James has more.
Flood and fire disasters are some of the major disasters that frequently occur in most parts of Nigeria, including Akwa Ibom State. This has led to many victims being displaced, while also leaving others in agony. Hence, the response by the federal government through National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, with the provision of relief materials to the victims.
I feel very happy for them coming to assist us. I'm very happy about it.
I thank the federal government for this food me government give us.
Some of the relief materials provided include bags of beans, flour, gari, and rice, among others. Presenting the relief materials to the victims, Akwa Ibom State Deputy Governor and Chairman of the State Emergency Management Agency, Moses Ekpo, advised Nigerians to guard against building on waterways and actions inimical to the safety of the environment.
And hope that our people in this part of the country, like happens in other places where there are disasters, will benefit from both the support of the federal government and the state government.
The distribution of relief materials, which was done under the supervision of the zonal coordinator of NEMA South-South Zone, will also extend to other local government areas in Akwa Ibom State. In Uyo, Charity James, NTA News.
Our next port of call is Enugu, and Mina has some reports for us from that axis. Hello, Mina.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good evening and welcome to Enugu. State government's intervention in the infrastructure needs of the judiciary in the state is one way of promoting efficiency in the justice sector. President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Zainab Bokachua, made the observation after a tour of some projects for the Enugu State Judiciary, courtesy of the state government. Justice Bokachua was in Enugu in continuation of her tour of judicial divisions across the country. Susan Eze has details.
Ahead of her retirement in few months' time, the Appeal Court President, Honorable Justice Zainab Bokachua, was in Enugu principally for two assignments: to bid farewell to colleagues still in service and to hold a valedictory court session in honor of a colleague who has bowed out of service before her, retired Justice Chinwe Izoba. The Appeal Court President, having visited some project sites in Enugu, expressed delight over the remarkable interventions by the Ugwuanyi administration in the state judiciary, especially the customary Court of Appeal headquarters under construction.
So we are very grateful for that gesture by Your Excellency. And then I also saw our judges' quarters, which were being renovated. We are very grateful.
Congratulating Justice Bokachua, the first female president of the Court of Appeal, for service well rendered to the nation, Governor Ugwuanyi assured her that the state government is committed to bringing improvements in the judiciary sector.
Let me assure you that we will not relent in our efforts to ensure that justice is not only served, but also served speedily in a conducive environment with modern infrastructure.
Justice Bokachua was accompanied on the visit by other eminent jurists from across the country. In Enugu, Susan Eze, NTA News.
And legislators from the Enugu State House of Assembly have commended federal government's efforts aimed at ensuring the completion of the ongoing rehabilitation work at the Akanu-Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, before Easter this year. They gave the recommendation when the members of the House Committee on Works, led by the chairman, Chima Obieze, visited the airport. There are strong indications The ongoing work at the runway of the Akanu Ibiam International Airport will be completed by the first week of April. Earlier this year, the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, inspected the ongoing rehabilitation work at the Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, and assured that the first week of April deadline for its completion is sacrosanct.
By our program of work, we will be delivering this runway, God willing, before Easter.
Some key players from the Southeast zone, including ministers and governors, had visited the airports to see for themselves the feasibility of completing the work at the stipulated time. They expressed satisfaction with the level of work done so far.
Quality of work, also good.
Members of the Enugu State House of Assembly Committee on Works were also at the project site to get a first-hand information about the work, as they are eager to see the airport reopen soon. The airport manager, as well as the contractor handling the work, reassured them of federal government's commitment to deliver a quality job, which according to them is 60% completed. Members of the committee, as well as the Enugu State Commissioner for Works, reiterated Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi's commitment aimed at ensuring that the Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, which is a gateway to the southeastern states, retains its international standard. In Enugu, Chineyang Woye, and that is our contribution from Enugu. Nationwide continues in Abuja with Elizabeth after this commercial break.
Lassa fever occurs when a person gets bitten by a rat carrying the Lassa virus. It is also contacted through the consumption of foods that have been contaminated by either the saliva, urine, or excreta of the rats. Lassa fever is deadly, so protect yourself and loved ones from it. Keep rats away from your homes. Ensure that leftover foods are properly covered at night and heat up properly before consumption. Wash fruits properly before you eat. Maintain regular hand wash with soap and water, as well as environmental sanitation. Report all feverish conditions and bleeding from the nose or mouth to the health facility nearest to you, and don't indulge in self-medication. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA.
Glad to know you're still there. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, is about now having a meeting with a delegation with African Biblical Leadership Initiative led by Jerry Ghana at the Presidency. Let's join correspondent Mitari Ikpen, who is live at the SGF's office for a situation report. Hello, Mitari. Mitari, can you please let us into the mission of the African Biblical Leadership?
Hello, Elizabeth. Thank you. The African Biblical Leadership Initiative is a pan-African forum that brings together political and civil leaders who come together to deliberate on biblical examples of leadership with a view to addressing Africa's challenges and opportunities. The group is presently meeting with the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, and they believe that the Bible is an encyclopedia of leadership examples, and as a result, they have come to meet with the SDF, who usually receives such delegations who plan to hold conferences in Abuja. The group has come to intimate the SGF that it will have its annual conference this year in Abuja.
All right, so why the choice of Abuja for this year's conference?
Yeah, the choice of Abuja for this year's conference is because the group usually rotates its activities. Hello?
I can hear you.
Hello?
Thank you so much.
We have the Secretary to the Government of the Federation right here.
All right, Terry, thank you so much for your time. Thank you very much. Moving on, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Haja Sadia Umar Farouk, has assured internally displaced persons taking refuge in Bauchi State of the federal government's renewed commitment towards their welfare. Abbas Meikano reports that the minister was in Bauchi and visited some of the IDP camps.
Minister said she is in Bauchi to present relief materials from the federal government to internally displaced persons taking refuge in the state. She identified the relief materials brought to include 7,000 wrappers, 1,500 bags of rice, 1,500 bags of beans, 2,500 spaghetti, and 3,000 blankets, among others. The minister also identified the establishment of Northeast Development Commission as one of the interventions put in place by the federal government toward alleviating the suffering of the internally displaced persons.
We are going to support them to rebuild their lives and their homes. This is what NEDC, the Northeast Development Commission, is all about.
Sadia Umar Farouk commended Bauchi State government for assisting internally displaced persons despite limited resources at its disposal and called on other states in the country to emulate. Bauchi State Governor Senator Bala Mohammed called on federal government to find long-term solution to challenges confronting internally displaced persons in the state. Represented by his deputy, Senator Baba Taylor, the governor said internally displaced persons from Northeast and other neighboring states are currently residing in the state and made a case for federal government intervention in catering for their welfare. He commended federal government for the gesture, which he said will go a long way in alleviating the suffering of the internally displaced persons. In Bauchi, Awal Abdullahi, NTA News.
We now go back to Mitari at the SGF's office on the Biblical Leadership Initiative meeting. All right, Mitari, could you bring us up to speed about the thrust of the visit?
Yeah, the meeting, like I said earlier, is to intimate the federal government that the African Biblical Leadership Initiative intends to have its annual conference here in Abuja this year. And good enough, the meeting has just ended, and we have the leader of the delegation, former Minister of Information, Professor Jerry Garner, who will also throw more light on the meeting.
Okay.
Yes, we came in. So, sir, can you let us into your mission for this meeting today?
Thank you very much. We came as a delegation to brief the Secretary of the Government of the Federation on the decision of an Africa-wide forum, the African Biblical Leadership Initiative, which was initiated way back in 2010 in Addis Ababa, after the heads of state had a Africa-wide prayer breakfast in Addis Ababa. They set up this initiative just to promote good leadership, value-based leadership, leadership that honors integrity and honesty and competence and character and compassion and mercy. There is just people-oriented, the kind of servant leadership that we find stories illustrated in the Bible. So this is what they've been doing, and after initiating, they've been moving the conference around the nations of Africa. So they've been in Kampala, Uganda, Accra in Ghana. They've been in other parts in Swaziland. They've been in Malawi. In fact, I had the opportunity of representing the Nigerian delegation in Yaoundé, Cameroon. So this year, the whole conference decided in Kigali last year that we'll move to Abuja.
Okay.
Because this is the 10th edition, and they said now the 10th edition has to be big. And if you want it to be big, go to a big nation.
Okay, we also have the Secretary to the Government of the Federation who will tell us the level of commitment government is putting into this program.
Well, I think basically, taking a cue from what Professor Jerry Garner has rightly said, it's leadership that is biblically based, value leadership. And that's what we intend to promote on the continent of Africa, because leadership is everything. If you have a good leader who sets targets, who is focused, who casts a vision, people will follow. If you don't have a vision of where you are going, why should people go with you? So the objective, like you rightly heard, is that after a breakfast meeting in Addis Ababa, the leaders decided that, look, let's go around the African continent and promote this value-based leadership, the servant leader concept, that you are a leader, but you are a servant to the people who elected you, and you are supposed to do the bidding of the people who elected you to provide for their welfare, for their good and for their well-being. And that's an initiative that I think we are receiving with gladness here in Nigeria, and the government would partner with this conference and see that as much as possible we support it. And it's quite a mark of appreciation for Nigeria for the 10th edition to be cited here, and for the African continent to decide that, look, if you want it big, if you want it really, really big and good, come to a big country. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So that's the situation. Back to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you for your time, Mitari. Moving on, the Ministry of Women Affairs is set to ensure that in this year 2020, no child is seen roaming the streets when school is in session. The Minister of Women Affairs, in a forum with the Federation of Muslim Women Association of Nigeria, met to iron out modalities on how street children will be taken off and sent to school.
If each one of us is the eye of government and we make sure that within our neighborhoods we checkmate our children being on the streets to beg, we must do everything as mothers to see that mothers send their children to school. Someone, as you wish to know, envisions a world where women are totally empowered to be role models in making positive impact on the society.
The minister promised to focus more on girl-child education to ensure that street begging is eradicated and women are prepared for leadership roles. Time now to join Musa Abubakar in Sokoto for more reports on Nationwide. Hello, Musa.
And welcome to Sokoto. Sokoto State Government has reiterated its resolve to continue executing projects that have direct bearing on the people of the state. This came to the fore at a meeting between the State Deputy Governor and local government sole administrators. Mohammed Nasser reports.
Local government councils, being the government closer to the grassroots, are expected to work assiduously towards improving the well-being of the common man. Federal and state governments often task the leadership of the local councils to ensure provision of social amenities to their people. This is the monthly review meeting between the Sokoto State Deputy Governor, who is also the overseer of the Ministry for Local Government Affairs, and the sole administrators of the 23 local government areas of Sokoto State. The meeting deliberated on issues that have to do with development of the entire state.
The issue of first, the issue of revenue allocation allocated to all the 23 local government of the state, and also discuss various issues. First, on the security issue that we have challenged in our state and the various local governments, and also to discuss the developmental issue of our people.
The Deputy Governor called on the Council's sole administrators to contribute towards ensuring success of the deliberations. In Sokoto, Muhammad Nasir, NTA News.
The 119 Composite Group Nigeria Air Force, Sokoto, has been challenged to be humble with its host community to avoid the recurrence of a fracas that happened months ago. Sultan Mohammed Saad Abubakar stated this when he received the newly posted commander, Group Captain Garba Abubakar Bello, who paid him a courtesy visit at the palace. Sheikh Mohammed Dati has details.
The unfortunate incident that happened between some youths of Mabera and officers of the Air Force, which led to the death of a mother and left some injured, still lingers on the minds of their family members. This perhaps necessitated the call by the spiritual leader on the need for new leadership of the command to be extremely careful in dealing with their host communities. Sultan Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar, while welcoming the new commander, emphasized on the need for proactive measures to neutralize armed banditry and other criminal acts within Sokoto axis.
We need to continuously caution our men, because when you are in an operation, when you're in an operation area, you have to be careful of how you deal with people.
Group Captain Garba Abakar Bello was at the palace to formally introduce himself to the Sultan and by extension strengthen existing relationship between the Sultanate and the Confasite Group. Group Captain Bello assured of the command's commitment in the discharge of its constitutional responsibility.
Measures have been put in place to further enhance our relationships with our host community.
It's a normal tradition for national officers posted to Sokoto to pay homage and make formal introduction to the Sultan. In Sokoto, Show Muhammad Detti, NTA News.
That's our contribution from Sokoto. Elizabeth, is back to you.
Thank you, Musa. And next is sports updates.
Defending champion Novak Djokovic set up a semi-final showdown with rival Roger Federer at the Australian Open with a convincing 6-4, 6-3, 7-6 victory over Canadian 32nd seed Milos Raonic. The clash on Thursday will be the pair's first meeting at the Australian Open since Djokovic beat the 38-year-old Swiss in their 2016 semi-final. And to soccer, the final phase of Governor Henry Sediak Dixon football tournament, the Restoration Cup, is in progress across venues in Bayelsa State with the round of 16 and quarter-final matches scheduled for the 4 centers in Yenagoa, while the semi-finals, third place and final games will hold at the Samson Siasia Sports Complex Yenagoa in the 4th night. Director General of the tournament, Honor Abe, urges the participating teams to embrace sportsmanship while showcasing talent in football. Meanwhile, Friends of Jide in white jersey defeated a select team of sports journalists 3-2 via penalties after a 1-0 draw at the Area 3 Preach Abuja in a novelty football match to mark 1-year remembrance of late veteran sports journalist Olajide Fashiko. Former Minister of Youth and Sports Development Solomon Dalun, who officiated the match, tasked journalists on the legacies of the late Fashiko for the country's quest for sports development.
He left legacies of integrity, forthrightness, bluntness, frankness.
He was using everything he had to do for everybody as much as he could.
Late Olajide Fashiko, who was editor of an online news platform, Gong News, spearheaded several grassroots sports development programs. With Sports Update, Keden Ima Abodike, NTA News.
And that's Nationwide today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Enjoy your evening.